We recorded some sparring sessions inside the Grapplers Guide studio. This one is of me rolling with Elliott. You'll know him from being in a lot of the videos. He helps me out a lot with the Grapplers Guide. He's a very good purple belt, and it's in this particular role, what I'm focusing on a lot is my pass prevention, my guard retention, my open guard movement, my grip fighting, and sweeps, and my base when I'm on top. I'm not really focusing that much on submission attacks or anything along those lines. Within this particular role, I wanted to make sure that I focused on those fundamental things, especially because at the time of filming this, I am working a lot on Phase 3 of the Fundamentals program, which does talk a lot about guard retention and pass prevention as well. So hopefully you like it, and we do have more of these coming your way. And I'm going to comment over this video to talk about some things that happened. So we shake hands, we get started, and you'll notice we just have basic grips here. In this role, right, you'll see me pull guard pretty much every single time for the most part. Right here, it's an okay guard pull because I have control of Elliott's sleeve here, and Elliott even has my hand a little bit. So his right arm is controlled, and I do the proper thing of taking my left foot and putting it on his right hip because this sleeve is controlled. So it's going to be much harder for him to basically kick me by or do quick guard passes and so on and so forth because I did this particular type of guard pull. You'll see other times I do lazy guard pulls, and the biggest reason for that is because I understand training with Elliott. I've been training with him for a very long time, so I know that when I roll with him, if I do certain types of things, it's not really going to be a big deal. Now, if I do that with somebody else, then it might be a big deal because that person might attempt a pass right away. So who you train with, who you're rolling with, who you're even competing against, lots of times has an effect on the things that you do. So let's continue. So I pull guard.
Jason Sully pulls guard.
I like playing collar sleeve with De La Riva and foot on the shoulder.
Yeah.
So you'll see here that I'm playing like a regular type of collar sleeve with a De La Riva. I don't so much put my foot on the hip anymore, so I don't really put this left foot on the hip that much anymore. That's more of a basic variation that beginners are very good. That's good for beginners to start off with. I like to play the De La Riva variation because I can work to attack this side with my leg. I can work to go to a shallow lasso. It gives me a lot more attack options. You'll also notice that my right foot here is controlling his shoulder. It's active. Look, my toes are active here. Trying to control his arm. I am controlling his lapel and his collar. I'm controlling his sleeve, and I'm also controlling his leg. We continue. So here now I'm in close guard, and I open up right away because I don't want to play close guard in this particular session here. I'm working on controlling double sleeve because if he can't use both of his sleeves, it's going to be hard for him to work his game. Now here, if you notice, he ends up coming down to a combat base, right? So he's down on his knees here, and he switches to a combat base, which then leaves him vulnerable for me doing the De La Riva X. And I like doing the De La Riva X. It's a very good complement to collar sleeve. So I notice that happens, and pretty much immediately I take my left leg here and I shoot it through to a De La Riva X. So I shoot that through. I get the De La Riva X, or the deep De La Riva. So that's basically shot through. My right leg goes through. Now, one thing that I could have done that JT Torres talks about in his series on the Grapplers Guide is I could have straightened my legs more. And if I would have straightened my legs more, I would have gotten more control. And I possibly would have maybe set up the sweep better. Elliott does react very well, so I go for a particular sweep, and you'll see here. So I'm going for this under the leg lapel grip sweep, and I try to do a technical stand-up. But Elliott attacks for a loop choke. So if we go back, we're here. So let's go back here. I'm able to get this position. Come through, deep De La Riva. Now notice I have control of his sleeve here. I can go for a tipping sweep as well, but I wanted to go for this under the leg technical stand-up sweep that I like to do. It's a very high percentage sweep from this position. So I came under. If you notice, my left arm is under his leg, and I have his lapel here. I have control of his arm, and he has a cross-collar grip on me. So this is what kind of saves him here. I posted with my hand to get up, basically, and that gave him a free left arm to snap my head down. So because he attacked for the loop choke on me, it made me think of something else, which then basically helped him get rid of this grip and stopped me from sweeping him. So it was a very good reaction on his part. I was able to release, and then we start over. So notice here, this is what I'm talking about. This is a bad guard pull, in my opinion. The reason why this is bad is because I don't actually it's a good guard pull. The reason why it's a good guard pull, initially I thought it was a bad guard pull, but it is a good guard pull because if you do see here, I have control of his sleeve. So since I have control of his sleeve here, it is much better. Now it could be a better guard pull if I took my left foot and put it on his hip here. So it is not the best, but it's not the worst, right? It could be better if I was controlling at his hips. Somebody who had more experience may have the ability to try to pass my guard during this guard pull, but like I said, I know rolling with Elliott, so it wasn't really that big of a deal for me. So Elliott did a good job breaking grips. You know, he's trying to pressure the pass and get proper positioning. I'm working my leg positioning. I go back from shallow lasso to De La Riva a lot. It helps me keep him busy, right? I go upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body. Now, what's going to happen here, I'll just play it out. Right here, what happened was there was a disconnect. So I went to reset. I went to reset my position because I felt like nothing was happening. So when I went to reset, I had a cross collar grip, which then opened me up for an opportunity to go for a collar drag. Elliott had very good base. I wasn't able to capitalize on it. I did work to attack his leg, but it's a good thing to try because essentially, if it doesn't work, you're really not putting yourself in a bad situation. So I went for the collar drag, didn't work. We ended up standing again. Here, he has grips on me with his right hand, so I know that's his strong hand. Since that's his strong hand, I really don't want him to play with that. If it was his left hand, I probably wouldn't have cared about it because I know that his left hand isn't his strong hand. But because he's controlling me with his strong arm, I focused on breaking the grips off. So I pulled, if you notice, we go back. I pulled at my own lapel, straightened my left arm here, pulled with my right hand, and was able to snap it off. Boom. The other thing I'm doing here is I'm using my right hand to control his right hand. I don't want him controlling me with his strong arm. So I'm focused on stopping him from controlling me with his strong arm because most of his throws and his opportunities are going to come from that arm. Now from here, Elliott's trying to, let's go back here. Elliott's trying to put some pressure on me, right? So he's doing a good job trying to kind of like crowd me a bit. He's trying to crowd me here. So what I do is I immediately post on his shoulders. I post on his shoulders because I don't want him to close that space between my chest and his chest. If he closes that space between my chest and his chest, it's going to make things a little bit difficult for me. So I made sure I post on his shoulders. Lots of times where I'll post on the inside of the biceps. It gives me room to keep him at bay, to keep that distance, to help me keep my knees free, and then work my legs inside so that way I can make sure I prevent the pass and retain my guard. Notice I'm also posting on his head Head control in this situation is very good. You know, he's breaking my grips a lot, which is very good, because if I can't get a good solid cross-collar grip on him, it affects my game a little bit. So this scenario, we'll just watch this scenario play out, and then I'll talk about it. So let's bring this back a bit. So here, I had a cross-collar grip. He's down on the ground. So that means his ability to stand up to get good base is much slower because both of his knees are on the ground. Since I have this cross-collar grip and I have mobility, I'm in an open guard, right? It's going to be easier for me to scoot out to the side. He's using his hands to occupy, basically to break the grip, but his hands are occupied. He's not controlling my hips. He's not controlling my upper body. So then from there, I use this opportunity to work for a collar draft. Now, what happens is when I get to the side, I make sure I take my head, pretty much the top out of my head, and I jam it right into his ribs, right into his armpit, so I can continue driving and complete the sweep. So if I just kind of scrub through here, you'll see here, I shoot out, his hands are busy. I shoot out to the left, drag him to my right, and immediately when I see the opportunity, he's on the side of me now. He's basically like to my right side. I take my head, and you'll see that I purposely duck it underneath. I duck it underneath his arm, I drive, and look here. I'm extending my right arm as I'm pushing my head into his armpit, and then I continue driving forward, controlling his right leg so I can finish the sweep. Let's go back here. So here, I'm able to finish the sweep, then make sure I establish my position. So I didn't end up in a scenario where I can go for a pass right away, so I wanted to solidify my base. So let's just kind of like play this out. So here I have my base. Now the time's almost up. This is only a 3-minute roll. We were rolling with 3 people, and we didn't want the videos to be too long, especially since I'm talking over them. Here he's trying to get like open guard, scissor sweeps. I'm keeping protected, right? I'm keeping protected. I'm making sure I have a nice strong base. And at the same time, I'm making sure my head is low, my hip is far enough away, because my goal, I like playing over-under passes, my goal is to step and stomp over his leg. So notice what I'm doing here. Go back. I'm pushing down on his leg. I'm using my hand to push down on his leg by controlling his pants. I even use my elbow because I want to get that leg low so I can step over it. My head's down low, boom, now I step over it. Then I start working my passing. At that point, you'll see him pushing on my head, and I use the wet dog concept pretty much for tons of things. You'll see me basically shaking my head so I can wet dog his hands off of my head, which then, if the timer didn't run out, I'm pretty confident that I probably would have got my head close to his hip, which then would have given me the ability to possibly work for my over-under pass. So look, I shake my head, and I drive it forward. I keep doing it. And then the time runs out, and then that's pretty much it. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I'll post more of these. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Peace.